Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here to do a flip through of my lap book folio thing that we made with the lots of pockets and what have you. So it's turned out it's pretty chunky and but it does all hold together. It's like 9 inches at the front, although the back is bigger than that. So yeah, I think it's about kind of 9 inches by, call it 6 inches, and then at the deepest part it's like 3 inches there. So there's lots of different sort of parts to this. So it's bound together with these two ribbons, which just looks so pretty. And basically all that they are is just, you know, some black satin ribbon with some of this gorgeous kind of beigey colour organza. And I just tied them in the middle so that they're secured together, and then I just tied them round, and I just thought they looked super pretty around there. So if you followed the video where we kind of got making this, it's basically smaller at the front to the back. I wanted to do something sort of inspired by Eva at Bohemian Crafting. So that was kind of where my inspiration came from. So on the front cover of this, we've got vintage sheet music, which is very kind of beige in colour. I love the colour of this sheet music. It's not kind of ivory, it's that sort of much darker. I really love it. And then I've just done lots of lace and things. I've got some of that gorgeous trim that I received in Happy Mail, which I coffee dyed, one of my little number tabs. And then a vintage book piece here, and another vintage book image here on the front. Then there's a bow and yeah, some more lace and things. So going inside, so paper clipped onto this opening sort of flap, I've just got one of those gorgeous envelopes that I received in Happy Mail. I have a feeling that we did do this in the video, but I wouldn't swear by it. But it's got all these beautiful lacy kind of markings with the coffee dye, and so it just looks so pretty. And I just literally layered it up with a little piece here, which actually I've just realised I could have put a journaling card in there. So let me just see if I've got some floating around here at all. Have I got any? This is where I'm not going to now be able to find any. Hold on. Oops. Oh no, come on. Hold on. Good grief, that took me a long time to find something. So I've got one of my ticket printables there. It needed to be something pretty small. But yeah, so that can just pop into that front pocket. So obviously you've got that to journal on. And then going over, obviously this is an envelope. So inside I just popped in a couple of pieces of ephemera there. So they just go in like that. So this was obviously clipped over this, which is an opening flap. Now I'll just move this across so hopefully I can kind of get it all in. So on the front here, you've got a pocket here, and in that pocket, this is some vintage sheet music cover. And I just made a little one of those kind of chewing gum type packets, and I've just closed it again with a sort of piece that was also gifted to me in that same Happy Mail. So again, it's got those lovely markings on. And if you open that up, there's just a little flippy pad with some scraps of some coffee dyed paper and a bit of lace at the top. So that just closes back up like that. And that goes in that front pocket there. And then just before I put that back, obviously this was that envelope, and I just popped in another journaling card there. I love how that looks. It looks really pretty. So that goes in there. You've got some lace trim at the bottom. And then going over, so I'll just keep that sort of together. So going over, this is obviously the inside of the envelope. You've got some more lace trim running down the side. You've got another one of those coffee dyed flowers. And then the label here, which acts as a pocket, and I just tucked in one of my little Curator's Collection portraits pieces. And then tucked into the envelope itself, this again is some more of that sheet music cover. And I just made a little foldy sort of booklet, just again incorporating some scraps of coffee dyed paper there. And then on the front I just put one of the vintage photographs and some doily and a little number printable, and then some lace trim running down the side. So that just tucks in there like that. And then here we've got another flap. So on here again, you've got a pocket here, you've got some stamping going on, you've got some lace trim, and then you've just got a couple of journaling cards there that tuck into here. And then going over, you've got more lace trim. I love how that looks, where you've got that kind of instep, I guess, of the lace trim. And then tucked into this large pocket, you've got just a little envelope. And again, this is a printable, but I just popped on a vintage stamp and then stamped a postmark stamp on there, and then some lace trim across the top. And then inside there, this is some of that sheet, sewing pattern paper stuff that I've decoupaged onto some tracing paper. So that's got a number there and a flower and some lace trim. And then when you open that up again, it's got another sort of flippy pad just attached in there. So you've got lots of room for journaling in here. And that just all tucks back into that envelope, and then it just goes in like that with your flap sort of over. I thought was quite nice. I can't remember whether this was supposed to be a pocket or not. Oh, it was, look. So if I just tuck this in here. Oops, it's a little bit wide. Right, let me just trim this down slightly so it actually fits in that pocket. There we go. Hopefully that's going to fit now. There we go. So you've got another pocket there with another journaling card. And then here, which is kind of the back of the lap book or the folio. So actually I can just paper clip that envelope on. So there's lots and lots going on in this one. So here you've got this pocket here, and tucked into there, I've just included one of my vintage letters. It's a copy of it. But it's copied onto coffee dyed paper and it's been distressed. So, I mean, it really feels pretty vintage. One of my little dictionary definitions, one of my little price tags. And then here you've got a little paper clip holding this flap down. And so pocket on here, and you've just got a flip down there with a little chipboard tile on the front. It's not a closure or anything, but it's just a little tab for decorative detail. One of my number tabs on there and some vintage newspaper. So that just tucks in here. So I used a whole range of printables here. I've used my Vintage Florals set 1. I used my Curator's Collection background pages sets 2. Like, you know, for the second sets, I've used some of the portraits. I've used some coffee dyed note cards. These are from the Glue Book Favourites 3. So I've really used a lot of stuff in here. So this bit here, I love how this turned out. You've got kind of 2 flaps here. So on the front, again, this is some vintage sheet music. And then you've got some of the Vintage Florals set 1 there. And then you've got this piece here acting as a pocket. And I just popped one of my vintage photograph printables in there. Then when you open this out, I really am struggling to fit this in. So I'm going to shut this flap over so that we can move it across a little bit. So tucked into this envelope piece, you've just got, again, this is some vintage paperwork, and it's just a copy of it on coffee dye paper. As you can see, it got a bit torn on the coffee dyeing process. You know, it doesn't really bother me, but I just do want to point that out. And then the envelope's been covered with doily and then some of that beautiful vintage newspaper. And then this flap here, so on the front you've got this pocket here. So this is the Vintage Florals, this is the Curator's Collection papers, and this is more of the Vintage Florals. I think this is one of Rachel's labels. And then I just tucked in some more of that background sheet from the Curator's Collection, like that. And I just put some lace across the top, so it kind of feels a bit like a letter, but, you know, with a lace trim at the top. And then tucked into that pocket, I've just got here a little greaseproof paper, sort of foldy booklet. Oops, it's just got glued at the top. And that's just got some coffee dyed scraps there, and it's all been stitched around on the sewing machine. And you've got a vintage book image on there and one of my number tabs. That just tucks in. And then going over, so the, you know, both the flaps go over there. You've got here a pocket here at the front. So these are from my coffee dyed note cards. And I just popped in a large tag. So on this tag, It's one of my slot pockets, but it's done in the style of a tag, if you see what I mean. So in the slot pocket, so I love how this turned out. It looks so pretty, doesn't it? I just put some coffee dyed paper in. That's got one of my price labels on it and some sheet music. And that just goes in like that. So that just goes into that pocket. But before I do that, you've got another pocket behind. So you've got, you know, the small pocket and then the large pocket behind there. So if I just pull those out, and then here, this is some of my platform number 2 papers, I think. So tucked in there, you've got a glassine bag. Just decorated that up a little bit. And then inside the glassine bag, one of my fabric tags, which I think I did this on video, using the Tim Holtz paper dolls. So I just thought that was, you know, quite a good match for this whole folio. So that just all goes into the large pocket. Then this one obviously slots into the smaller pocket, and actually I'm going to put this in upside down because then obviously the lace trim is all showing at the top, so I just think it kind of goes in better that way. Then here, paper clipped in, you've got one of those CD cases, which again, this was gifted to me in the same batch of Happy Mail, with all that beautiful marking from the coffee dyeing process. And then I just took a vintage image, which just happened to be perfect size for this, so it worked out awesome. And I just put one of my price tags on there, and then going inside there, I just made one of my little envelope booklets, which you've got a pocket in here, which, oops, I've left empty. So let me just grab something to put in there. Oops. So you can just have a journaling card in there. I don't think I've opened up the back, but you could also slice the back and put another journaling card, but you've got more journaling space in there and more journaling space on the back. So I really love these, and it feels just lovely. It's kind of, it's not really squishy, but a little bit sort of puffy. So that just goes in there. So love that. Then you've got a whole array of stuff going on here. So you've got, again, another one of those little tabs, and that's holding this flip down, which again, you've just got some journaling space there. And then obviously you've got the journaling space here, which I now can't fit in. But yeah, so obviously the back of these 2 bits for journaling. And then obviously plain there. So if that just goes back under there and just closes off like that. Then in the first pocket here, you've just got one of my journaling cards. That's just from some of my collage papers. And then here you've got a larger pocket, and you've got a big tag. Got some vintage sheet music obviously in the background and some doily. And this tag, you've got one of my little tabs there with some vintage newspaper. And then there's a pocket here, and one of my portraits curators collections. And these 2, these are both from my what are they called? The coffee dyed note card sets. So yeah, again, lots of interest and room. So let me just pop that in, and then we pop this one in here, and then this just kind of hangs over. Oops. Hangs over that pocket like that, and then you can just clip that on. I don't know as you really need to clip it on. I think it stays there pretty well, but you know. And then going over, so this is kind of the back section. So on the back, it's just covered in lace completely. But what you've got is basically you've got a sort of fold out with journaling space. Then you've got some decorative pieces on here. You've got some vintage newspaper. Again, look at that gorgeous colour of that newspaper. A label there. And then that's acting as a pocket, which I've just tucked in a sort of envelope here, which I made from, again, oh, it's not an envelope, sorry, it's a little flip down. But again, I just made it from the vintage florals. And then on the back of there, I just popped one of my note card printables as a pocket, and then popped in one of those pieces in there. So you've got lots of kind of interest going on there. So yeah, at the front, it's, you know, flip down like that, and at the back you've got a pocket and a journaling card. One of my number tabs there, and that just tucks all in, and this is just hanging from a bulb pin here, these couple of number tabs on there. And then here you've got a little fold out piece again, So, I mean, there are so many flaps in here, honestly. I had such a whale of a time making this. So you've got a flap here, basically, when it's closed, you've got a flap here. This is just some of that lovely vintage sheet music covers. So, yeah, I've just literally decorated it up with some of my number tabs and some doily and things. So you've got journaling space in there. And then that's also holding down this flap, which you've got a label there. So you've got journaling space here. And then here you've got this gorgeous sort of midnight blue velvet pocket, which I just thought was really striking to have it on there. And then you've got this image here from my platform number 2 kit and some of my price tags. And then here you've just got a little flippy pad with some sort of coffee dyed scraps, really. So that all just goes in that pocket. And then it closes, you know, like that. Oh, and this I forgot to say, I actually put a magnet. So there's a magnet behind here and behind here. So that's how that's staying shut and not flapping around. I actually forgot what I'd done there. It's very hard to keep track of what you've done. So then going inside here, oh, I've just noticed that envelope's coming apart. So I'm going to obviously glue that back closed. It obviously came apart from the coffee dyeing process, so I will glue that shut. But this is also a pocket. And inside there, you've got one of my vintage birth certificate copies. And I just made a little booklet. I've wrapped around some doily around the edge and then some lace and a little flower. And then I just folded, because it's quite a long certificate of baptism. It's quite a long piece. So I was able to fold it in half and then fold the edges over to make little pockets. So they are only copy paper, so they're pretty delicate, but you can just pop in something small like that. Then you've got scraps of coffee dyed paper there, just as, you know, a little booklet. And then another pocket on the back, again, just with a little piece in there. Where did I get that from? In here. So that goes in there. And then on here, there's a pocket here. Again, layered up some bits and bobs. And then tucked in there, so you've got one of my dictionary definitions, and then I just made a large tag with, again, variety of things layered up, number tabs, and another one of my little vintage postcards there tucked into that pocket, and obviously journaling space on the back. There's quite a lot to this, I'm actually quite shocked. So then here you've got 2 vintage postcards, basically. So this first one here, so they're actually vintage postcards. You've got this one here, and then I just put a flip down of some coffee dyed paper on there. And then here, I just included one of my magnetic tabs. So that's just holding these 2 little pieces of ephemera there. That's just holding them together, and they just all just pop into that pocket. So let me just, oops, open that back up, and then like that. So that's holding those. And then basically they are holding this down as like a stopper. So once you move that, as you can see, you've actually got another one of those vintage postcards, and it's like a flip out. So you've got journaling space then beneath it, and obviously journaling space here on the back. And it's just reinforced with some more of that vintage florals paper. So yep, that goes in there and holds that closed. So that's kind of all of that. And then the final thing is inside here, the top pocket, you've just got a very small, simple journal. So this basically is some front cover of some vintage sheet music, and then you've got a piece from my platform number 2 kit. You've got some doily and some lace trim there going all the way around the back cover. So I just really love how that looks. And then on the inside of the front cover, you've got some more of the vintage florals, another one of the Rachel labels. And then here I just popped in one of my little acetate printable pieces and some coffee dyed paper. So that looks really super cute. And then you've got some lace trim just running down the edge. And then you've got some scraps here of coffee dyed papers. Oops. Like that, and then you've just got a little flip out here from some of the vintage florals, or sorry, Victorian florals. And then here you've got some more sheets of paper like that, some doily, and then paper clipped on here you've just got one of those Matchbox books. Oops, if I can actually open it. like that. So it's just copy paper, but it's super pretty. And yeah, so you've got more journaling space in there. So I mean, you've actually got a ton of journaling space in this whole you know, piece. Then you've got some glassine bag, which I cut it open to use it as page. So this has got the seam running down, but you know, that's kind of because it was a bag. More coffee dyed sheets of paper, and then the back, I've just literally covered it with some book page, vintage book page to there, just reinforce the spine. So, you know, quite a small journal, but again, a ton of journaling space. And obviously in the whole thing, I think you've really got a lot of, you know, journaling space and room in there. So yeah, I hope that you like it. I mean, there really is a lot to it, but I just really loved working on it. And yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's anything near as awesome as Eva's lovely lap books that she does. But it was very much inspired by her with all the different flaps and things, and not being the sort of same size at the front. So yeah, I hope that you like it, and obviously it's for sale in my Etsy to coincide with this video going up. So yeah, if you liked it, if you could give me a thumbs up, that would be fantastic. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely day, and hopefully see you again soon. Thanks then. Bye.